The adventure is nigh, plushies are here!
Hey pals, wanna see my new knives?
Look out, adventurers! It's the evil wizard, Mole Cutpurse!
Not so naked and defenseless now, bitches! Take this!
He's tough, but we can beat him with the power of friendship. And violence!
Each comes with their own weapon with action magnets in their weapon in hand for action holding power!
Mull this over.
Oh, Victor, my trusty henchman. I need help. Wait, I don't have a henchman.
But you do have a shit perception score. Crikey.
Adventure is nigh plushies with action magnetic weapons, each sold separately or as a bundle from Second Wind. No assembly required, batteries are pointless, must be 21 or older to purchase a drink from Buka. Adventure is nigh plushies do not move on their own. If they do, call a priest. Ask your parents' permission before nothing. For a grown-ass adult, you can make their own decisions. The Adventure is Night Club is not responsible for any injuries sustained while adventuring.
Reddit's most downvoted comment of all time has about 600,000 more downvotes than the second place comment. It's referred to as pride and accomplishment by fans, journalists, Bob Iger, and probably a few federal judges. Because regardless of what you remember about the launch of Star Wars Battlefront 2, what really happened was far, far worse. Welcome to Game Arcadia, the peak of gaming culture. I'm Jenna Stieber, and I'm unearthing the weirdest behaviors in video game communities. Why me? Well, I have a master's degree in media and culture, and I do take pride in my accomplishments, thank you, which makes me the Oracle. In 1977, a movie with a sparse $11 million budget was released. It had princesses, swords, and magic, but it was, get this, set in space. 40 years later, EA Games honored this quaint adventure tale by publishing Star Wars Battlefront 2, a game developed by DICE. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is the sequel to the reboot of the original Star Wars Battlefront, and it's not to be confused with Star Wars Battlefront 2, which was a sequel to the original. This naming convention is so stupid that the first Battlefronts are retroactively listed as classic. The rebooted Battlefront 1 was released in 2015. Although it cost a full $60, fans felt that the game didn't seem complete, like content had been cut. I mean, you couldn't even play on the Death Star at launch. In order to fight on the most iconic location in the franchise's history, you had to plonk down another $15 for a DLC. The game only felt complete if you bought all 4 map packs, meaning that the game really cost $120. If you were gaming on a budget, that meant you weren't playing The Witcher 3, Bloodborne, or Contradiction Spot the Liar. What the hell, EA? Season Pass owners saved about $10 over those buying a la carte, but EA didn't provide any details on what the pass included until months after the game released, so only absolute die-hard fans were excited about whatever expansion pack 4 had in store. I'm sure the exclusive shoot first emote was a huge lure though. Battlefront ran into longevity issues immediately. A lot of people didn't want to buy new maps for a game they already spent $60 on. To make matters worse, Season Pass holders got the maps 2 weeks early, so hype for the new content was split. By the time the a la cartes joined, the diehards had already mastered the maps. With each new release, there was a huge drop-off in players. Matchmaking became difficult, and despite selling over 13 million copies, the multiplayer mode simply died off.
I know that laugh.
Of course, EA made a truly insane profit off the game and immediately got to work on a sequel set to release November 17th, 2017. For Star Wars Battlefront 2, EA emphasized that the base game would have 3 times more content at launch than BF1, making it roughly the size of a regular game. And it wouldn't have a season pass, as though that was the issue and not the fact that it burned through people's Contradiction Spot the Liar money. But even as late as 2017, it wasn't clear what the new monetization scheme would be. They couldn't do map packs again. They had to innovate a brand new way to rip players off. But what would it be? Extra costs for a single-player campaign? A surcharge for HD textures? Selling lightsabers by the linear foot? No. It was something far, far worse. BF2 had a limited multiplayer beta in October 2017. The response to the graphics and gameplay was positive, but there were rumblings about player progression. These would turn into a full earthquake after the open beta in November when the first 10 hours of the game were released, and with it, the game's full loot crate system. There were 3 ranks of loot crates. Hero crates went for 110 crystals or 2,200 credits, Starfighter for 120 crystals or 2,400 credits, and Trooper for 200 crystals or 4,000 credits. Players could only get crystals by buying them. Bundles started at $5 for 500 and $10 for 1,000. At the higher levels, there was a discount, $20 for 2,100, $40 for 4,400, and then a huge leap up to $100 for a whopping 120,000 crystals. That's quite a savings if you're willing to spend 100 genuine American dollars to get it. You'll notice none of the loot crate costs divide evenly into 500 crystals, so the monetization was already structured to push you towards the 1,000 crystal bundle, otherwise you're leaving crystals on the table.
You made a fair move. Screaming about it can't help you.
The crates contained credits, crafting parts, and star cards, which were the main draw. The more expensive the crate, the greater the chance of getting cards. The costly Trooper crates had the best return, usually 4 to 5 cards a box, and were, of course, randomized. Star cards were the big issue initially. They provided assets like flash grenades or jetpacks, abilities like explosive shot or shields, and traits like being Pedro Pascal, which gave you greater cooldowns on your other cards because he's just so fucking cool. Star cards weren't a way to unlock skills and weapons, they were the only way to unlock skills and weapons. And the only way you got star cards was through loot boxes, and the loot boxes were randomized. That's right, Star Wars Battlefront 2's entire progression system was structured around purchasable, randomized loot crates. You could grind for credits like a poor person and get stuck with cards for heroes you hadn't yet unlocked, while someone else turns $100 into 120,000 crystals into 600 loot boxes and instantly gets a top-tier gun, a jetpack, and fully leveled Pascality. And then you're dumped into the same multiplayer battlefield to fight each other. The game was immediately accused of being pay to win, but that's unfair. Even if you dropped $20 digital to buy crates, you still might not get anything good. So it wasn't even pay to win. It was pay to gamble to win. Now, the whole point of betas is to stress test a game so that devs can make changes before it's released. And EA did immediately enact some fairly big changes to the system. New weapons and class-specific gear were unlocked by hitting milestones. The highest level of star cards were removed from crates, so they had to be crafted, and crafting levels were now gated behind player level, so even if someone bought a ton of materials, they didn't get to power up their skills instantly. In an attempt to prove that they were listening to feedback, DICE producer Paul Kreslin did an interview with YouTuber Angry Joe. Joe asked,
how long would it take you to kind of unlock everything if you never paid a dime on loot boxes?
Kreslin admitted,
I actually don't know the math behind that one.
You guys don't know you are the multiplayer producer. Go talk to the multiplayer producer.
His lack of answer is likely what drove a number of Redditors to crunch the numbers based on their experience in the beta. And the numbers were bad. Redditor the Hotter Potato crafted a spreadsheet that tracked the average length and credits earned per match. They estimated that it would take about 3 hours of gameplay to earn a Trooper crate, and 20 hours to get enough crafting parts to fully level a single star card. But the kicker came when considering the cost of the named Star Wars legends. Top-tier characters like Vader and Luke cost a staggering 60,000 credits, and they couldn't be bought with crystals. At the estimated rate, it would take about 42 hours to unlock a single hero. 42 solid gameplay hours. Now that's not taking into account credits earned for bonus objectives, but it's also assuming that you're not doing anything stupid with your credits, like trying to level up your character. 2 days after the spreadsheet was posted, user MBM Maverick took to the Star Wars Battlefront subreddit to ask a simple question. It wasn't about star cards or pay to win. It cut through the fuss and the complicated math. It got to the true core of the issue.
Seriously? I paid $80 to have Vader locked?
That's really what it all boiled down to. People paid $60 to $80 to have a fun time with their friends Luke and Leia and their pervy dad who's always hanging around. But the cold reality was, they'd have to grind a lot to do that. The most downvoted comment in Reddit history was made in response to this post by the account EA Community Team. I think their November 12th probably went something like this. It was less than a week till Battlefront launched, and thank God it was Friday. Corporate had finally handed down the approved responses, so EA community team could copy and paste it in reply to frustrated consumers. After another sad desk salad, they really need to stop doing that, they logged in to the company Reddit account. It was time for another salad. A word salad. They replied to MBM Maverick, "The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for the cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course, attainable via gameplay." They shuffled the words around a little, a tossed salad, they think with a chuckle, and reply to a few more comments, then knock off early. After all, they put in a hard 40 hours this week. It's time to bask in their... Gosh, what's the word?
Fire at will, Commander.
It's the worst response imaginable. EA was saying yes, it will take 40 hours of pure grind to unlock a single hero. You will pay us for the privilege of this full-time job. You're gonna do it, and you're gonna love it. Eat up, piggy. It took an astonishingly short amount of time for this comment to reach record number downvotes, and EA was watching. Within a day, they dropped the credit cost of heroes by 75%, while still insisting that unlocking a hero was a great accomplishment in the game. An accomplishment that heavily incentivized you to purchase loot crates to get credits. Because sure, they dropped the cost of this one highly visible aspect, but that didn't change any of the other math. It still took 3 hours of gameplay to unlock a single loot crate. More napkin math suggested that to unlock and upgrade all 324 star cards, it would take roughly 4,512 hours or 188 days of gameplay. And in Crystal, it would cost $2,100 in so-called microtransactions. It's the dark prophecy of horse armor fulfilled! But EA Games still stupidly thought that indelibly connecting progression to loot boxes was fine. They thought if they just kept explaining it, gamers would simply accept this horrible, money-driven design. So, 2 days before the game was released, 3 devs took to Reddit for a damage control AMA. They ended up revealing how fundamentally broken the game's core design was. Associate Design Director Dennis Bronville revealed that the amount of credits received after a match was weighed mostly on time spent in match. Only 20% was based on performance. For all the talk about pride and accomplishment, the game didn't actually reward you for playing well. It rewarded you for playing a lot. But of course, rewards had to be this way, because if someone spends a ton of money unlocking and upgrading, they will do better in a match. And if doing better in a match meant they got more credits, they would get more upgrades and continue to do better. The cycle would be insurmountable. The rich would get richer and those on the bottom would stay on the bottom. EA somehow captured the horror of generational poverty in this Star Wars game. In case there was any doubt of EA's sickening greed, the devs also clarified why single-player arcade mode had a 500 credits daily cap. It was to prevent abuse, they said, otherwise people would spam the offline mode to get credits to power up in multiplayer. That's right, if you want to abuse the system, you had to do it their way, by buying crates. The timing of this couldn't have been worse. Not because the game was a day away from launching, but because it was just weeks before the release of Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the second in the new trilogy of movies. The controversy boiled over so badly that it was starting to threaten the whole franchise. So Robert fucking Iger of Disney himself took notice. Do you know how badly you have to fuck up for the gloved hand of Mickey Mouse to reach out and strangle you? The day after the AMA, EA did something I've never seen a company do before and probably never will again. Just hours before the game released, they turned off microtransactions. The greater backlash against loot crates had been brewing for a while, arguably since they were first ported in from mobile games. But it took something as huge as a Star Wars game and as thoroughly fucked as BF2 to reach a boiling point. In a press conference, Hawaiian representative Chris Lee referred to the game as a Star Wars-themed online casino designed to lure kids into spending money.
It's a trap.
And Belgium's justice minister launched an investigation into whether or not BF2 constituted gambling. Do you know how badly you have to fuck up for the black, soulless eyes of Tintin to turn their withering gaze on you? Singapore, the Netherlands, South Korea, China, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK also launched Loot Crate investigations in 2018. EA had to send in their vice president of legal and government affairs, a crazy position to have at a company whose product is digital cops and robbers. She told a committee that loot boxes were quite ethical and quite fun. Many countries would find that loot boxes didn't meet the legal definition of gambling, but Belgium did eventually rule that they needed to be regulated. In an article about this law, the BBC calls out the pride and accomplishment comment as a tipping point. The comment even won a spot in the Guinness World Records. And worst of all, Star Wars Battlefront 2 missed its sales goal. It only sold 9 million copies, short of the 10 million copies the company expected. Turning off microtransactions didn't solve the credit grind issue. Redditors began posting mechanical solutions, and instead of being booed for cheating, they were hailed for exploiting the broken game. In early December, EA finally just increased the amounts of credits earned in a round. They added a bonus for top team player, increased the daily arcade cap to 1,500 credits, and juiced up the daily login bonus. But no amount of cash influx or Wookiee fire sales could fix its progression system. In a huge March patch, EA essentially reverted it back to the system used in Battlefront 1. Progression was detached from loot crates. Now, players traded XP for skill points to unlock or upgrade star cards. Loot crates were no longer purchasable. They were awarded for daily logins, milestones, and challenges. And crates no longer held star cards, only credits and cosmetics. That's right, in the end, EA embarrassingly shuffled back to offering cosmetics for purchase like every other live service game. Most incredibly, in this progression update, EA unlocked all the heroes. Anyone who plopped down $80 for Star Wars Battlefront 2 could now play as Vader. All it took was the most downvoted comment of all time.